you see how it wants to roll? Yeah. That's from that. I lost control.
Welcome back to part 2. In the previous video, you saw our first plane take a nosedive and crash. This crash was not a surprise to us. We knew going into this that this first plane would eventually crash, but the goal was to gather data and improve for the second plane that we would actually use for competition. By taking what we had learned from the first plane, we were able to start building our second plane quickly that we were going to use for our competition. Since it took us twice as long as we were expecting to build the first one, just from a learning point of view. Even though the second plane came together much quicker than the first one, we were still under a time crunch to get this plane ready for competition. When we got to Wichita, we believed that our stress and problems were a thing of the past. So we proceeded to conduct a systems test on our plane. That would be the electrical systems and ensuring that the props were going in the same direction and producing the same amount of force. And in our infinite wisdom, we did this in our hotel room. And unfortunately, when we did this power test, we wired the plane incorrectly. So you had a bunch of mechanical engineers create the magical black smoke. We were afraid that we were going to burn down our hotel room and the hotel itself. So we proceeded to, as quickly as we could, take this plane from the 3rd floor down the staircases to outside, just in case we actually would cause a fire and burn the plane. Since we had just fried our electrical systems, the team had to go out and find replacement parts. We then spent the first day of competition rewiring the plane, and by that evening we had completed the task. And then we proceeded to go to a local RC airfield to conduct a test flight, but due to the extreme winds, we did not feel that it was safe or wise to do said test flight. We then spent the second day of competition waiting for the wind to die down so we could safely test fly the plane. And while we were waiting for that, we continued to make improvements. One of these improvements was the control horns that was used to control the axes of the plane. Our original control horns were laser cutted from balsa wood, but due to the forces during flight, we felt that it would be safer and wiser to go out and get plastic control horns. On the second to last day of competition, we were able to finally go out to the RC field and our proof of flight video. When we landed, we realized that we had the same issue with our landing gear as we did with our first aircraft when landing in grass. With our design of our landing gear, we decided the best course of action was to super glue the landing gear back on and that the landing gear would hold up to landing. The reason you saw us take off and land 3 times was the 25-foot takeoff requirement. When we designed the plane, we were expecting 10 to 12 knots of wind. But when we were called up, the wind decided to die down and go to calm conditions, which is less than 3 knots. So it took our aircraft 28 feet to take off. So we attempted 3 takeoffs within our 5-minute time window. But by the time we did our 3rd takeoff, we would not have had enough time to complete the 3 laps required for Mission 1. Even though we did not complete Mission 1, we still had a lot of fun and got to meet a lot of great people and seeing how they approach the same problem differently. The last requirement that we had for our DBF team was to go to our school's engineering expo that is held every year to showcase our senior design project and also to show all the other seniors' design projects. The last thing I want to say before I sign off is a big thank you to the DBF team and our senior advisor, Dr. Wong. I had a great time, I enjoyed it, and I look forward to working with you guys in the future.